I want to win, but I don't need to win.
Hey, what does it mean to win?
First couple of years in the business, it's 75 Life Group, huge group to me at the time, $50,000 commission, all the money in the world.
Once you know that you deserve or you believe you deserve to win, you just basically have to do things that losers won't do.
The question you got to start asking yourself is, do you deserve to win? That's what I'm going to be talking about today, because some of you out there are crushing it and you deserve what's coming to you. Some of you, maybe not. I mean, you may think that you should be winning, but you need to look in the mirror and realize, Craig, are we doing the necessary steps, what it takes to win? And maybe things have gotten by you, or you're not looking at it right anymore. Hey, show sponsor, Virtue Health. Check us out, virtuealliance.com. We're heading into fourth quarter. Winter's here. It's busy season. Check us out. We'll take a look at your self-funded cases and fully insured conversions. Virtue Health, virtuealliance.com.
Hey, what does it mean to win? And recognize it's going to change over time because your life dynamics changes, right? You're in your 20s. You got a certain lifestyle. You get married. You're in your 30s. You got kids. You got 40s. You got junior high and high school. You know, it changes the entire dynamic of your life. So I remember growing up when I owned a retail agency, the whole thing for me was autonomy. I didn't care about anything else. I wanted to be autonomous. I'd been independently employed since I was 24. I didn't want anybody telling me where I had to be and what I had to do. So that was my thing. And so I reverse engineered my business so that I could have that autonomy. But you know what? It might be, for some of you, it might be impact. It might be income. It might be recognition, right? Some of y'all want to, be on stage and win awards and all that stuff. Fine. But figure out what it is to you. Maybe you want to make a bigger contribution, bigger donations. So once you figure out what your win is, understand that it's going to change over time. And that's just natural because your circumstances in your life's going to change and you need to just figure that out. And so I remember, there's basically a handful of things you got to recognize in order to figure out, do you deserve to win? That's just another way of saying, hey, is your subconscious programmed to always make you regress to the mean, to always be comfortable, and to keep you from realizing your potential? And so some of the ways you can catch yourself, and hopefully we'll have some stories, John and I tonight, on, how we overcame these things. So first thing you got to do is you got to believe you deserve to win. That psychology it sounds stupid, but a lot of people have been wired since the time they were kids to believe, you're not smart enough. You'll never accomplish anything. I can't tell you the number of, stories that I've heard. John, you've probably heard a million of them, listening to podcasts and other coaches, right? People get wired and they believe that their past is their future. And none of that stuff's true. And so once you know that you deserve, or you believe you deserve to win, you just basically have to do things that losers won't do. And so I can remember back in 1993, John, the California created, what the hell was it called? AB 1672. I think it was 1993. It said basically made health insurance a commodity and said if you had 5 to 50 employees, you were going to have this plus or minus 20% range of pricing. It was all the same for everybody. So basically, in my mind, health insurance you could buy at 7-Eleven. They totally commoditized it. And so I went, how am I going to differentiate? Everybody can quote the same damn thing. Now it's the law. And so California was first. The rest of the country followed in a few years. And so I decided that I would do things that other brokers wouldn't. And so that was 1995. We started doing billing services, John. And part of the pitch was, hey, you show up, you got $12 an hour work. Why are you doing $12 an hour work? That's not your job. Outsource that to us. And so we would do all the billing. We would do the adds and deletes, and, it would give us more control. It would tie us into the client. 1995, brother. That was 30 years ago, man.
You're talking about bringing them to your battlefield, right? And I want to go back to, I think first is going back to defining winning, right? I started out with just talking about winning in the business, and you're more experienced, right? And what is winning to you in today's world? And winning to me has changed, although it's fairly similar. I'm not talking revenue wise. I'm just talking about other things in life, not just business. And so I think that is important, because don't take it the wrong way. I know people that are happier in life, and are broke as can be, but they're happy as can be than me and you combined, right? And so that's winning to them. Do they want the stress, the anxiety, the problems that come with this world, the pressure, the weight on their shoulders? That's not winning to them. They look at us, they think we're crazy, right? They really do. My family goes, how do you go on stage? Aren't you nervous? Aren't you this? And since I was young, I put a suit on and I go to a barber shop to sell Two Life Group Barber when I was young, just thinking, well, I don't care. I'm excited. Right. And so to other people, winning is different. Us as advisors, we're all similar in nature, but we had our good friend Joe Maniscalco talking at High Stakes Advising a couple of years back, and he talked about it is defining what that success looks like, or the lifestyle you want, right? I've always stayed the lean and mean, higher profit, lower employees, less problems lifestyle. Because he's like, look, you go to X million in revenue and 50 employees. It's not like your margins are the same. It's not like you triple your revenue, right? Because you tripled your employee count. And so you don't triple your profit. And so is that worth it? Is it what you want? Well, hey, maybe you're going for the sale. Who knows? But at the end of the day, defining what it is, I mean, it's always been a lifestyle business. I had a conversation today with somebody, and I think it was Jeff from our office. I said, look, it's not a lifestyle business like it used to be. There's so much competition. This isn't 10, 20 years ago where there's less competition. People didn't know about it. So people are chomping at the bit on your account. So you can't go on vacation for 10 years like Craig did back in his day. But that's the reality. So defining winning. But if you go to bringing them to your battlefield, playing to your strengths, right? Do you deserve to win? Right? You can you look at both parties, and in my head, maybe he was just naive and I wasn't that smart to know the competition as much of the bigger groups and the big box chain stores because I never worked there and wasn't involved in them. So I had no idea. I just thought I was the best. I believed I was the best. I had tunnel vision. I only saw some brokers that were successful and I thought they were terrible. And I always thought I'm better than them. I could be better than them. And so I never thought of, that side. So yes, I always came to the battlefield with what I had because that's kind of all I knew, which was self-funding. Luckily, in the beginning, I started with self-funding. I met some guy that was successful, just one lunch with him, heard about self-funding. I said, that sounds cool. That sounds interesting. Like you're doing something. And here I was competing with guys Craig's age. How was I going to beat them in the business? Right. I had to show them a way to lower healthcare costs. I picked self-funding. I also say I got lucky in the fact that Obamacare came out then and premiums went, pew, right? More pressure, more opportunity for younger guys at the time. So it was a double whammy. But finding out what your strengths do you play. I mean, there's some brokers out there, man. They're just people person. They're so friendly. They're so likable. And that's their strength. Or they're great at prospecting, or they're great at closing, whatever it is, you got to lean on it and build around where you're weak because you can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah, at the end of the day, look, not everybody can be a Tom Brady, an MJ, where they just completely dominate the competition. But there's nuances to that. And so you got to figure out, I like to think of it as, the simpler you can make it, the better. My God, John, let's unpack this a little bit because I think any broker can package themselves and their services in such a way that they can differentiate themselves to their market. They just have to be realistic about who their market is, right? Because within each market, I mean, sub 50, sub 100, sub 300, 500, getting up to a couple thousand, then, away you go from there. You got to be realistic on what a buyer will buy from a sole practitioner or a small practice. And so simpler is better. I mean, my God, we've got the plethora of, I was on a call with some brokers the other day and I wasn't the first one to speak to their client as part of their renewal. So they had to go through some stuff first. And then it was like, okay, here's Craig Lack. And I'm listening to ICRA and MSK and DPC and, offsite clinics. I'm just thinking, this must just sound like a fire hose to people, right? And then you got the concierge nursing. You got to drive everybody and steer everybody through. And maybe you end up at the RBP facility or the discounted facility that you've got a contract with, so everybody's got to figure out how to make this simpler for people because the more friction you create, the harder. Ultimately, you can be intellectually correct that in a perfect world, all of these things would lead to lower healthcare costs. But in reality, you're asking human beings to change their behavior, and almost nobody wants to do that. And so your ability to dominate the competition, I think, is going to be a function of being able to have a simple value proposition that isn't too impossible to actually implement and to start that way. What do you think, John? You've had a lot of experience with that.
First, let me tell you a quick story. First year I really learned more about the cost containment measures and some of the strategies. Worst sales year ever. My close ratio nosedived like I was jumping off a cliff because I was excited, like Chris Farley in his movies, and all excited, and Tommy Boy. He's all excited. Remember, he's like, I get all excited and I'm selling and I blow the sales. So that was me, all excited, blowing the sales. If you're a broker, you're listening. You know when you come in, you're so excited. You learn about that solution. You throw up on them. You felt so good leaving the meeting, and your close ratio went down because you're showing up and throwing up, and you're excited about solutions. You're going in the weeds, and that was me. I did it for probably 8 to 12 months, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Let me simplify it. And the more and the better I got, the more I simplified it, the less I told them. Not to say I don't continuously make mistakes. On every call, I make mistakes. It's like professional poker players at the high stakes table. All the money is lost through steaming and mistakes, right? And when they lose a hand, they steam, they go on tilt, and they make mistakes. And so even the pros continuously make them. It's just evolving, getting better over and over at them. But to your point, I nosedived in sales, and then I took a step back and go, what is my strategy? What is my strength? Marketing. What can I do that other brokers are doing that I'm competing against? I can be consistent. I can follow up. I can dress well. I could show up early. I can be an expert on every topic, right? Know the rebuttals. Know what they're going to say. Record my meetings. Write down the notes. Do my poker, what's called hand history. Do my meeting history and figure out that sales funnel that I have in the meeting of questions and bringing them to the point that I want. So there's all these different things that I have to do in a meeting. So I'll give you an example. I go into a meeting, first couple of years in the business, it's 75 life group, huge group to me at the time, $50,000 commission, all the money in the world. Okay. So much, it was more than all the money in the world. I didn't even know what I was going to do with that money. So I go in and it's Italian jersey. I've told this story before. Italian jersey, CFO. Yeah, come on in. Ba, ba, ba. And then it goes, my broker's Gallagher. Who the F are you? And I had no answer for him, right? I had no answer for him. And I met the master, Craig Lack, called me branding, shock, and all. And so the next year, what did we do? We sent them a $100-something what a package would have cost me, right? Only to warm and good opportunities with this nice steel camera case, my book in there, a tablet that when you open it up, again, a tablet that's something that they're not going to throw away, they're going to give to the kids. Every time they swiped it open, it played my testimonial video. Next time I go into the meeting, meets me at the door. I don't even go in his office. Hey, do you want a cappuccino? Let me show you around. Come on in. The finance girls asked me to sign a book. He's like, yeah, I want you to meet the owner. I mean, it was just night and day. And so, like Craig said, they know who Gallagher is, who the F are you. So I knew I couldn't be Gallagher. And so I showed them who I was through marketing. And so I used it to spin it. And I played to my strengths that I'm going to have the name of an expert versus the brand. It's just not going to be me unless I roll up into one.
The best part is it wasn't you claiming to be an expert like so many people are stuck doing. These were third-party validated. You were a best-selling author. You spoke on these stages. You were in New York City. You had magazine cover. I mean, you didn't have to say a word. Your assets said it for you, and that's the strong play if you're independent.
Do you deserve to win? You got to ask yourself, do you want to win? Well, as far as business go in life, that's a different story, right? What's your number? What's your lifestyle, the balance, so on and so forth. But if we're talking strictly business and you're competing against the competition, right? We call this show, for those that don't know, it's called Heads Up Advisor for a reason. In poker, I used to be a professional poker player. Heads Up poker is one-on-one. It's the most difficult poker, right? Is when you're playing heads up one-on-one. So it's you versus them. Cards doesn't come into play as much. And so we call it Heads Up Advisor because it's you versus the incumbent, those that don't know. That is the reason for the story. And so how do you go against their competition? Let's use a great example of Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice wasn't the fastest or the best player, right? Coming out of college. And he wasn't this like Megatron, a 6'7" receiver, jump through the air like Megatron on the lines that know him, right? Yeah, he was talented. He was a pro, but he was just not on their level. And basically, Jerry Rice and Steve Young, right, when they were on the Niners, they won, I think it was 94 to beat my Cowboys. They They just won the Super Bowl. The next day, Steve Young goes to the facility because he forgot something in his locker. Well, he peeked out the back door, and on the practice field, who's out there running routes? Jerry Rice. The day after he won the Super Bowl. The day after, okay? And so that is a difference from a guy that became one of the greatest football players of all time and sets himself apart because he was not the fastest. Again, that's the difference of somebody that wants to win. So when you ask yourself the question, do I really want to win? Look, sometimes I want to win, but I don't need to win. We've dealt with a lot of advisors, including myself. You're like, I want the case, but I don't need the case anymore. Somebody out there need the case. That's when you're going to play to win. And that's when I played to win the best, right? In this story, they talked about too is Terrell Owens. Everybody knows Terrell Owens, another top 10 receiver of all time. Terrell Owens played with Jerry Rice. How crazy is that? But Terrell Owens was known as like the best in shape, hardest working guy on every team. Well, surprise, he learned a lot of that from Jerry Rice. He talks about how they were running up the hills in California and their legs were damn near bleeding in pain, and Jerry Rice just kept on going. Okay. And so that just gives you an idea of somebody that wants to win and what it takes to be the best. Hope you guys win, teach you some sales, teach you some marketing, bring some ideas on here. We're going to bring some guests, some advisors out here before the fourth quarter, talk a little bit different about what they're doing. But if you need help, give us a buzz. We want to help especially the young guys, the new up and coming guys that want to grow their book of business. Virtue Health, check us out, virtuealliance.com. We'll end it there, Craig. We'll see you next week, same place, same time. Heads of Advisor, thanks for joining us.